All right, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining ASICS on our Move Her Mind tour. And a huge thank you for being here, of course, with the Megs. We have Megan Murray of Believe in the Run and Megan Featherston of Featherstone Nutrition. And today, for our stop at Fleet Feet Monterey, we are joined by Lindsey from Women Run Monterey. Very exciting guest this morning for our Move Her Mind tour and podcast. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to the Megs to kick things off this morning and introduce what we're talking about today and what we're here to celebrate in terms of moving your minds and getting moving. So take it away, Megs.
Thanks, Nicole. As Nicole said, I'm Megan with Believe in the Run. I am the co-host of the Move Her Mind event series with Megan. This is our 8th stop, and I have to tell you all, when we saw the schedule, this was the one we were most excited for. The running here is just amazing. It's so beautiful, so thank you for having us, and I'll give it off to my co-host.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. I'm Megan Featherston with Featherstone Nutrition. The other co-host, you just yell Meg and one of us answers, or maybe both of us. You never know. But yeah, like Meg said, we were very, very, very excited to come to the West Coast. The past 2 years of touring with ASICS, we have not made it to the West Coast. So this is our first time out here, and you guys all did not disappoint. For anyone who's listening to this podcast back, we have a full house of ladies here. A couple guys too, thank you. Thank you. I don't want to leave you all out in the back. You're allowed to move forward if you'd like. But yes, thank you guys so much for being here. And if you followed along at all with the previous 8 tour stops, the mastermind idea behind this was ASICS commissioned a study looking at the gender gap in exercise between men and women. And they found that there's a lot of things that are keeping women from moving their bodies as much as they would like to move their bodies. So our mission on this was to bring different guests from all over the United States to speak to us, to kind of motivate us all and help give some tips and different things like that, to help us all figure out how we can move our bodies to whatever that means to us, right? We can all define that for ourselves. And then also, if you're in this room, you probably are already moving your body more than the average human. So I want to make sure that we remember to support other females in our lives and helping them with their movement. And that is why we have Lindsey here with us today, because she is championing that here in Monterey. So I will let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she's created here, and then we'll talk about things.
Awesome. Thank you. Most of you know me. If you don't know me, my name is Lindsey. I am the founder of Women Run Monterey, which is a local women's only run club. We do some co-ed events the second Sunday of every month, but I really wanted to create a space that was safe for women, accepting for women of all kind of paces, faces along this journey. I found running because, like most of us, I have trauma in my life, and it's cheaper than a therapist. So I really, really enjoyed it once I started doing it, and I saw the need, and it started with about 5 people, and we've grown to over 350 members now. So we're doing events all over the place. We do need to grow. We need to go to places like Marina and Salinas, and we're working on that, but I appreciate you all for being here. This is my passion, and this is exactly why I do it.
So we're going to talk a lot about racing and balancing normal life and those topics. But before we dive into that, I always love to hear like someone's original, like their first run or how you got into running from the very start. So I know you have a run club now, but when did running enter your life?
Yeah, I'm a soccer player by trade. I've played since the age of 3, and 2 years ago, I was still playing competitively in Salinas and ruptured my posterior tibialis in my foot, which took me out of playing. And I realized, or I guess I had to come to the realization that at age 35, you do not recover like the college girls I was playing with. And it just, I really love high intensity. I love the sprint aspect, the fitness aspect of it, and I know that movement is medicine. And at the time, I was training at an all-women's gym. I also have my personal training certification, so training women there, creating the space for them to move, and I just started kind of talking about it. Like, what if we did this? What would this look like? So I started running by myself, and I was crazy, and I was like, what if I run a marathon? Not like a 5K, not like a 10K. We started with a marathon. So I signed up for a marathon that was over a year out because I wanted to give myself plenty of time, and started training for that, and it was hard. It was really hard. I was running really slow for what I thought. I let that affect my mindset at first, and then I just started connecting with other women who are like, yeah, that could be fun. We could do that. And we run in a place where like the sunrises are sherbet sunrises. They're incredible. And so, like I said, we started with 5 people. I put a post out on Instagram to see who would want to show up. We had about 5 people that first time, and then it's steadily grown to over 350 people. So.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's a great story. I can relate. My first race was also a marathon, so it's totally normal, right?
Totally
Why wouldn't
normal.
we do something big and crazy
Exactly.
like that? So after your first marathon, how were you able to kind of mentally reset back into, it's life-changing, right? The first time you go out there and do that. So, being
really
a mom
hard.
and...
Yeah, it was really hard. I really dedicated an entire year to preparing for that race. I cut out things like alcohol completely. I changed my diet. I think the biggest impact is on my family, because there are days I'd spend 3 hours out. Shout out to my husband for watching our kid. There were 3 hours you're out there for a long run, and it takes a lot of preparation and a lot of commitment. And so once that's over and once that's done, while the race was great, it's kind of like all a blur, and you kind of really have to sit back and reflect a little bit. And so I took a couple weeks off. And then I had already signed up for another half marathon that I was just going to go do for fun with some friends down in LA. And that one, there was no training plan. It was truly just like go out there and have some fun. I am one of those people who operate so much better when I have a plan and I know what I'm training for, because it dictates my life and the way and my schedule, right? So I took about a month and a half off after that half marathon, and I'm now back in another marathon training block because I just operate that way.
Yeah, you talked a lot about how challenging the actual training was, especially for the marathon. How do you avoid burnout when you're training and you also have your everyday life to deal with?
I am really fortunate enough to have a great coach that I went out and invested in. It wasn't something that I had to do by any means, but I knew that it was something that would keep me honest and would also allow me to still focus on family life and know that somebody else had my back on the training side. So yeah, I would say I trusted my coach to go ahead and tell me what I needed to do. Not every day was easy. She also would remind me of the rule of thirds, right? 1/3 of your run is going to feel great. You're going to have that runner's high and you're going to feel awesome. 1/3 is going to feel absolute crap. It's going to feel awful. And the other part is just going to be moderate and you're going to be there. But there are days where I was like, oh my God, I just worked all day long. I just made my kid dinner and now it's 7 p.m. and I got to go do a run. And it's cold and it's not cold compared to where you guys are from.
I was going to say, you are not allowed to say that.
It's like 65 degrees. But yeah, it was really, really hard. But I knew that I at that race had a time goal that I wanted to meet, and I just kept myself honest, and I plowed through it.
So you mentioned when you first started training for a marathon, you had these 3-hour-long runs that you felt like you needed a very good support system, which you have. Before we started talking today, which I feel like we should record the preamble up here too. You were mentioning some of the things that you've done through Women Run Monterey to help support other mothers, and I think it would be really cool for not just this group but people listening back to this podcast to kind of hear what you've done, so that maybe other people can do similar things in their communities.
Absolutely. I think one of the questions that I always get asked via DM on Instagram is, what pace is your group, right? And I think it's really important to get the message out that forward is a pace. We do not care what pace that you run. There is always somebody to run with, whether you are training for a race or you're just out there to have fun. And one of the things that we've started doing, especially on our Thursday night track nights, is inviting moms to bring their kids. That is one of the hardest things to do, is finding childcare when you need to go get a workout in. And we are in an area where we don't have these large corporate gyms that have space to take your kid and drop them off. We do not have that here. So I encourage moms to bring their kids to the track because it's fenced in and they can just run and you get your workout in. And I think it's also important to note that most of us are moms, right? Wednesdays when we meet, it's 5:30 in the morning, and I did that intentionally because your kids are asleep and you get home and then they wake up, but you've already got your workout in, and you can still get them ready for school and you're not missing big aspects of their morning. And so I I really wanted to focus not only just on moms, but I think that is one of the most challenging things for me is not feeling guilty about getting my workout in. I'm a better person for it. I'm a lot kinder of a person when I have my workout in. So just creating that space and letting them know, like, I don't care if you run with your stroller, right? Like, just bring them along. So the more that they see you out there pushing yourself and working towards something, I think we instill that for generations to come.
And I could totally see my kids being my accountability partner for a Thursday night workout. Like, hey, I want to go hang out with my friends.
Totally.
Like, I'm sure they all have their little thing, and everybody.
My kid is
everybody
always
wins.
like, you didn't win that race. You got a medal, but you didn't win. You weren't. No, I didn't.
While we're on the topic of community and the run club specifically, you mentioned it started out with 5 of you going out for a run, and now it's over 350 people. Can you sort of talk us through how that was built?
Yeah, I think it was mostly word of mouth. I have such incredible members who told their friends about it and brought their friends along. We have partnered with brands like Fleet Feet and Lululemon in the area to really bring attention and spotlighting to it. We are in an age where social media is also really helpful as well. So I created a social media for it that is only about Women Run Monterey, and we take cute pictures and we make cute sweatshirts and stuff like that too. That helps. So yeah, really, like, people always tell me what you've built is so great and so incredible, but I will tell you, I just had the idea. It's the members that make it what it is, and bring the enthusiasm to it. So really, the members did a lot of that.
And also, we were talking earlier, which we should record when we're talking off, but you had talked about there was other run clubs or groups in the area, but maybe they felt a little bit more intimidating. How did you make sure that everyone felt welcome to come to yours?
Yeah, to your point, this is an incredible community for running. There are run clubs for trail, for all over the place. And I think there's actually like a run club on every day of the week here. But there was not one specifically for women. And I think the other aspect of it is I wanted to make sure that it was safe. It is scary to run by yourself as a female. Whether it's at night, middle of the day, I wanted to be able to keep our location locked down so that only if you were a member, you knew where our meetups were. And it is intimidating showing up to a run club for the first time where you don't know anybody. I just wanted to create that safe space. And so, yeah, like I said, we just met up. It started from a little gym where people knew each other, and this community is also pretty tight-knit. And it just kind of expanded from there.
So you mentioned earlier that you got into running partly for like the mental health aspect of it, and I think a lot of us do it for the mental clarity and all sorts of other reasons mentally. But I think sometimes it's really easy to think like, oh, running is going to be the answer to this. But at any point, did you need to take a break from running or racing for a mental health aspect? Like not just using running to help with it, but also realizing that maybe we need a little break?
Yeah, absolutely. So after my marathon, because I went at that really intensely. I was really driven to hit this time goal and qualify for Boston, and I afterwards felt like the post-race letdown, where you become a little bit depressed, and you're like, oh my God, I've worked so long for this goal, and now what do I do? And it was more so after the fact that I had to be like, not everything has to be pace dictated. You can also just enjoy running for what it is. And so I really had to just take that time. We went on vacation. I didn't run at all. I just told myself your body has to heal, your mind has to reset so that you can look at this a little bit differently. Because that's the other thing. I don't want the women in my run club to think you have to run to go race, right? Like that's not why we're here at all. And so I really had to like mentally reset. And now in this marathon block, I told my coach, like, I really just want to have fun. If I hit my goal, great. But the goal is I'm taking about 13 girls from Women Run Monterey, most of them are in this room, who are racing every women's marathon in Scottsdale all together. So, and this one is just for fun. So I had to really mentally reset. I had a lot of hard, challenging conversations with my coach, and she was like, yes, you qualified in this marathon, but let me tell you, the marathon can let a lot of people down. And so don't expect that going forward, right? You really have to look at each race separately, so.
It sounds like you're very much a planner and you like having that goal race out there to work towards, but do you ever plan downtime within seasons?
Definitely. After this last marathon and this last half marathon, we had a vacation already planned, and like I said, after that last half marathon, I like put my shoes away and it was downtime. My coach watches everything on Strava, so I was like not running. I did lightweight stuff. I like movement, right? That's what makes me happy. That's what makes me feel better. I sit all day long for my day job, and so I did walks and workouts and such, but I really just took time to let my body reset, and I can tell I've lost a lot of fitness, and it's making me excited to like work back towards that now. So absolutely, downtime is critical.
And you've talked a lot about making sure that you're fitting in your training into your daily life, like getting up and running in the morning, being able to take your kids in the afternoon. Is there anything else that has worked specifically for you as a working mom in planning that out? Because I think that can be daunting for a lot of us. Like, we look at like a training cycle and we're like, how in the world is this going to fit into my already crazy life? So are there things that you would, tips that you found that might be helpful for others?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredibly important to have supportive people around you. I am fortunate enough to have a supportive spouse who we really like look at my weekly schedule, and I'm like, okay, Monday I got to run at 5 a.m. Tuesday you're taking Nash to jujitsu. Awesome. I'm going to go run while you're at jujitsu. And I think it's also important to note that he has his own thing that he does, and I have to be supportive in that as well. But I typically, like as a tool, plan my weeks Sunday for the following week. So I have my plan. I know what I'm going to do. I plan all my workouts Sunday, so I know what my week looks like. I hate days where I'm like, okay, I'll find a time to run, and then, oh my gosh, it's 8 p.m. and I've still got to fit this in. So for me, that's worked really well. I am a planner by trade because I have anxiety. And so it's the way that I'm able to combat anxiety as well.
So with Megan here, we have to talk a little bit about nutrition.
Absolutely.
So how does that fit into all of the busyness and the planning? Like, how important is that through your life?
Yeah, that slapped me in the face. This first marathon training, I will say, that was probably the hardest part for me. I have played sports my entire life, but nothing was as intense as marathon training is. You're burning, 1,000, 2,000 calories every run, and I could not fuel enough. And it really was starting to like stunt my growth in my block. And so I tried so many different things, prepping, protein, and it just got to the point where it was like, okay, every morning I have a protein shake so I can start the day, ahead. But transparently, that was one of the hardest things for me to figure out, because it's not something like I've never counted calories. I've never, planned out my macros or anything like that. And my coach was like, you should be gaining 10 pounds. And I'm like, well, I'm not, I'm eating everything in sight. I'm always hungry, but I am not gaining weight, because you are just burning calories during a marathon block. So.
And I think, that's exactly why I got into doing what I do, is because after grad school, I needed a challenge, as you were saying, and I was like, I'm going to go run a marathon, and I did everything wrong, because it's not intuitive what we should be doing with our nutrition as runners, right? Like, oh, don't eat sodium, sodium's bad, put down the sodium, and I'm like, no, you need all the sodium, like extra sodium, more sodium, same thing with carbs, right? It's like, oh, it should be balanced, I should have a lot of color on my plate, just a little bit of carbs, and all of a sudden you're like, no, you need a whole plate of carbs, right? So there's a huge learning curve to like, how do we fuel our bodies? And I think it gets even muddier for us as females, and depending on how we grew up and kind of the nutrition influences in our life. And I see someone shuddering. So this is relatable, right? So really, if you haven't had that kind of aha moment of like, something's probably going to have to change here with nutrition when we're training, and then educating yourself on what that looks like. And that's why we're so passionate about this podcast, Fuel for the Soul, and putting out free nutrition resources and calculators, because everybody needs to have access, just like people have access to you.
I think there's a narrative too where that's been created, where we think that we should be running to lose weight, and definitely during a training block or any sort of race, right? You definitely don't want to be running to lose weight by any means. And I think it's really hard to be a female in that aspect, where we're expected to look a certain way, and runners look a certain way, and it's challenging.
And I mean, I know we all probably have done this, but if you haven't, just look around at a start line of a race. Look around at a run club. Like, everybody's body is moving, and everybody's body looks different, right? All of us have different genetics. All of us are at different places in our lives, and our bodies change over our lives, and that's okay. They're not meant to stay the same, just like our minds aren't meant to stay the same, right? So why would we expect our bodies to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have this conversation a lot in your run club? Like, are people coming to you because they want to lose weight, or are you having to encourage people how important it is to fuel in order to perform well?
A little bit, yeah. We are just I'm starting to, not pressuring, but maybe a little bit of peer pressuring people to, try signing up for an event or a race, not for any sort of time goal. I'm looking at Regina because I'm trying to get her to pick one. Just for the sheer aspect of like having something to celebrate, right? And go out there and do it together. I really try and shy away from any sort of nutrition talk because I am not the one that they should be asking for, right? I do not have that training. I have a counterpart, Kirsten, who I usually will send them to, who is certified nutritionist, and we'll walk them through what they need. So I try not to have those types of conversations with them because I don't want anybody to think that everybody is the same. Everybody is different, and yeah.
You mentioned celebrating after a race, but what does success look like in the off season? Like, are there other things that you want people in your club or just runners in general to celebrate when they're not racing?
Running for fun, man. Like I said, I went really hard in that first block to the point where I didn't have a ton of fun. I went into the Monterey Bay half last year, got to the finish line, and lost my entire stomach. So I put so much pressure on myself, and so I think it's like successful mindset is just enjoying it, no matter if you're trying to hit a goal or you're just going out there to run it. I had to learn the hard way, right? Where I pushed myself way too hard, didn't fuel enough, wasn't hydrated, and it showed at the finish line. So.
Yeah, when we get too dehydrated, our stomach doesn't empty anymore, so it's going to go ahead and empty.
Those gels didn't sit well.
Yeah, that's common. Yeah, every time I was just having a conversation with someone recently, and she was like, I throw up in all of my marathons. And she's telling me about what she's doing, and I'm like, it sounds like she's fueling and hydrating well. And, just like you, we can see that Lindsey came from a very athletic background. So she started very competitively in her training, right? And then some of us are the opposite, right? We weren't actually super athletic, but then running, created that athleticism in us. So this other woman was very similar to you. And I was like, are you maybe just running like way too fast? And she was like, oh, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, well, when our heart rate gets too high, our core body temperature gets too high, like our stomach's not emptying anymore. So if you're not listening to your body to slow down, you're going to be hurling on the sideline because that's going to slow you down. So our bodies are very, very smart, and they will find a way to not allow us to push ourselves quite so hard. So yeah.
I crossed that finish line and then I just stopped. Also, don't recommend that, okay? Walk a little bit, go grab some water. Thank goodness there was like EMTs around because they handed me a bag. And then I was like, I don't know what to do with this. There's no trash can. Can I give it back to you? Yeah, lessons learned. Lessons were learned that day.
I love it. I love it. See, this is what's so lovely about this community. We can talk about these things, right? Absolutely.
No embarrassment.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the community you've created here and some of kind of like the highlights or the things that, make you most excited about it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I like I said, I've had to intentionally sit down and think about it because it's grown so fast, all organically. We have grown from just the scattered like, oh, hey, we'll meet Thursday this week or we'll meet Friday next week, to every Wednesday. It's a consistent group that shows up, works really hard. A lot of us have our own training plan, so we start our warm-ups together and we do that, and then we all kind of break off and then we all go get coffee afterwards, which I think is really, really cool. And now we're starting to do races together and traveling together, and like I said, it's all just been so organic, and it's driven by the interest and the feedback that I get from this group. They tell me what they want to see, and I try my best to make it happen. Like I said, we've been able to create cute sweatshirts and do fun things together. And so I think one of my favorite things that we do is before the Monterey Bay half, as well as this marathon upcoming, we meet together and we create bracelets, which sounds so silly when I say it out loud, but we create bracelets together that say Women Run Monterey or Monterey Bay Half, whatever it might be, and we spend time just shaking the nerves off and spending time together and kind of celebrating all that we've done up until that point. So I think just like little things like that, it doesn't take much, right, for this group to be happy and to celebrate each other. And I'm just fortunate that the women that have come to the group are so inclusive and, so friendly and open to meeting new people. So
I love that because I think it is amazing and important to celebrate the finish line, but also just getting to the start line healthy.
Absolutely.
Like, that's worth a party in itself.
little pre-race party.
I'm sure you get a lot of new runners, and I know, especially if someone maybe doesn't have an athletic background like you, oftentimes I've heard them say, I'm not a, quote, real runner.
It kills me.
What do you say to someone who maybe feels that way?
I tell them that there is no right or wrong way to run as long as you're out there. If you are a walker, great, we want you there. If you are a walker and runner, we want you there. Forward is a pace. I do not care what pace that you are running. Nobody is like, what pace did you run today, right? Nobody is like looking at your watch afterwards. It's more so just about like coming together and doing this together, because running is hard. It is not an easy sport. It takes a lot of mental grit to be out there, especially like coming to a place where you don't know anyone. So yeah, I think it's just about kind of, knocking that narrative down right away and getting them back out there. She's that way, and she's come to every run club since. So,
and I think it's such a great narrative too for us to teach people in our lives that maybe look up to us regardless of their age. Like, I've had this conversation with both my kids recently who are getting into different sports, and so might be a little better than me, and it's like, do you know how slow mom was when she first started running? Yeah. Like, she just works really, really hard, Like, when we work really hard for something we love, we have success, right? And we all start somewhere, and if we fall in love with the sport of running, it's amazing where it can take us.
That is a challenge that I face, because people look at me and they're like, oh, she's fast. Like, she's been doing this forever. And transparently, I have not, right? Like, I was a soccer player by trade. Yes, you run in soccer, but it's really intentional. You're sprinting for 30 seconds, and then you get to stop and you get to rest. When I started running, I was really slow, and it was really hard. And transparently, I hated it, but I had already signed up for a marathon. So I had to figure out how to love it. And I had friends that were doing it. I have a friend in Washington State who I would text all the time and be like, this is so hard. I don't know how you do this. This is so challenging. I am gassed after a mile. And she would just provide me little tips and tricks that really, really helped. And I try to pass those along to the girls who are also just starting. But know that I didn't start as a runner, I had to really find my groove as a runner, and kind of go through the growing pains of doing things wrong, fueling wrong, finding wrong shoes, right? I think I bought like 4 or 5 pair of shoes before I found the right ones. So yeah, it's challenging for sure.
So anyone who's been in this sport for a while knows that it's inevitable that something will happen. There will be a setback of some kind, an injury. What do you do in those phases?
Cry. Just kidding. I, unfortunately, last year had some sort of, they said it was like costochondritis or something, but it was like the most excruciating pain I've ever had in my life during a run. I was with my husband, thankfully. We stopped. We went to the emergency room. I couldn't take a deep breath without it hurting really bad. And I had a race in 2 weeks. And I was like, doctor, I don't care what you got to do. If there's a steroid shot you got to give me in my ribs, whatever you got to do, I need to run this race. And my coach was like, you got to take a couple days off. Like, you're not running tomorrow. I'm watching your Strava. You are not running tomorrow. And it was mentally challenging, right? Because I'd worked so hard for this. I thought, all of my training was going to go out the window in 3 days, and that's absolutely not the case. But I also had to remember that running for me is something that I do for joy and passion. I have to wake up every day and be a mom and a wife, and I cannot be injured and show up as my best as a mom if I don't take care of my body. So I listened to the doctors. I did get a steroid shot. I listened to the doctors, and I rested, and I got some, stuff to help with the pain, and it's gone now, thankfully. But it was really hard at first mentally, to swallow that. But I think just remembering that, like, this is an aspect of my life. I am not an Olympian. I am not trying to be an Olympian. I still have to show up every day for my kid and my husband, and that means, taking care of my body and making sure that I recover correctly.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, like, have you had a setback? It's like, when are you gonna have a setback,
yes.
right? Like, we all do, and we don't talk about it enough. And I think it is really, really hard to have something taken away from you that is so important in so many aspects, physically, mentally, all those pieces. So, if anyone has a setback now or soon, it's normal. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Running will always be there. It will come back.
What's something so obviously running has changed. You said you hated it, and now seems like you love it.
It's changed my life.
So how has your mindset around running changed?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, I have anxiety. I think we all do. But I would say that running has drastically changed the way that I react to things. Because when you're out there by yourself for 2-3 hours, even an hour, right? You're just on an hour long run, you are in your mind for an hour. And there's a lot of time for you to sit and dissect every inch of your life. And so I got really comfortable with being uncomfortable for a while and sorting through things. And like I said earlier, like I have gone through trauma in my life, and there has nothing that has shaped my mind better than running, because it does require you to be present in your mind by yourself, and it's really loud in there. And I had to work through some things on those long runs, right? And now I look forward to long runs because I get to, I get to challenge myself, and again, I'm out there. But it has drastically changed the way that I approach things, the way that I react to things. I am much calmer in life. You can ask my husband, hopefully he says yes. But yeah, it just really, you have to be present, right? So it made me face some things that I had not yet faced in my life, right, head on, right? And worked through those on my own. So yeah.
Do you remember when it shifted for you? Because I feel like when you start running, it's hard. Mm-hmm. And if you have to come back from an injury, it's hard. Yeah. And how do you get over that like initial hump of like, this sucks, I hate it?
Yeah, I think for me, I can remember, it was July 4th, not this year, last year. I ran the longest I had ever ran in a long time, and it was a half marathon. And I had done a half marathon by myself to prep for the Monterey Bay half that was coming up, and it was really hard. I woke up really early by myself. It was misty like it was today. It was dark when I started, and then I finished that, and I was like, holy shit, I just ran a half marathon by myself. This is so cool. And then I started being like, okay, I can do this, right? Like I just did a half marathon. I can do this twice, I think. I can do this twice. And so I think like that was a shifting moment for me, being super proud of the fact that I had just done something I had never done before, that most people will never even try because it's so intimidating and it's really scary. So that was like a really pivotal moment for me. I remember, taking the pivotal picture of your watch after you finish it, and I have it on my phone still, and I can remember that day vividly.
So before we open up for question and answer, I want one more question.
Sounds great.
From you, Lindsey, and that is, what are you excited looking forward to with your running? So what's on the map? What are you excited about?
Personally, I am super excited to, all fingers crossed, run Boston this year, or 2026. I just qualified. If I can get drawn, right, I can submit my time. It's always a draw there, but I'm excited for that personally. I will just enjoy that one. I will not race that one. It's got way too many hills, and I just really want to enjoy that, moment. For the club, I'm so excited to all go do our first marathon together in Scottsdale and take everybody there. Of course, we're going to have matching outfits and all the things. So I'm really, really excited for that. I am actually coaching a couple women who are doing their first marathon ever for that race specifically, and I get to run it alongside them and cross the finish line with them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll open it up to if you guys have questions for Lindsey you want to ask. Now is the time.
Nobody be shy.
I'll ask a question.
Sounds good.
So you're looking forward to Boston, fingers crossed. What is it that you are most looking forward to in your prep for Boston? I would say both mentally and physically. What are you doing to mentally prepare, and what are you doing to best physically prepare?
Yeah, mentally, I am really excited to not race that one and not have a specific time goal associated with that. I create some really bad habits where I'm like, this is what I want to do for this race. And there are so many other small goals that you can accomplish in a race other than the time that you have when you cross the finish line. So mentally, I'm excited to let go of that and challenge myself to let go of that. And then the running aspect of it, I've never been to Boston. Right? I'm taking my entire family. We're all going there. We're going to explore. And I've heard the city is just electric for that race. And so I'm just excited. It's such an accomplishment, right, as a runner to be able to do that. And I'm just looking forward to enjoying that one.
It's a good one.
26 miles. Oh, gosh. Now you know how I feel, okay?
what are some things that you do apart from running to support your running, to support, like, what are some healthy habits that you've incorporated in your life and your routine?
Absolutely. I would say I still strength train about 3 to 4 days a week. I think that's absolutely critical for women as we grow, our bones change and our bodies change. I am also a lot kinder wife and mom when I get my workout in. So I still strength train about 3 to 4 days a week. And then I also started really being intentional about what I'm putting in my body, and not just from a food perspective, because I love junk food, I'll tell you that right now, but supplement-wise, I make sure I am taking supplements that support my body. I have a 6-year-old who is always bringing germs home. It's inevitable that I'm going to get sick when he brings those home. And so I try to make sure that I do everything I can to combat that or support that in that way, because it's inevitable with kids, right? So I started learning about what my body likes, what my body doesn't like, nutrition-wise. I am working on that. Trying to just figure out, how I can make this all work together. So yeah.
So we're from San Jose, and there are small run clubs out there, but there's no women-specific run club. So I was just wondering if you had any ideas or plans to expanding to the Bay Area.
I mean, I would love to. We have talked about creating small little chapters in other little pockets and coves. I think my challenge currently is I have a standard, right? Like, I want to make sure that we provide the right level of support to each of these women in every little pocket all over the coast here. We are absolutely looking for that. Please send me a message. I would love for that to happen. It is a really unique thing, and I think that sometimes people are like, oh, an all-women's run club, and then you ask one of the athletes that's in the club, and they're like, it is my favorite day of the week. Right? Like, I get to hang out with my friends, and then we go get coffee, and I've already got my workout in, and it's so supportive. So I also would say, like, be brave and be the one to start it and create that space, because that's exactly what happened. And I was like, this might fail, but it also might be really successful. And you just gotta be brave enough to start and try something that, that not everybody is doing. Be bold.
Hello.
Hi.
So I have a lot of on and off periods from running, and one of the hardest things I found is starting again. It's terrible. So I'm on my off period right now. Do you have any tips or tricks for restarting and getting up to those high miles again?
I would say don't set yourself, don't try and go too fast back into it. I've definitely faced that, where I'm like, I was running X pace at this last, this on season, and now I'm going to start again, and I expect myself to be running that same pace again, which is not how our bodies work or function. Our bodies need that downtime to reset and to recover. As we all know, our muscles do not grow while we're running. They grow in recovery, and they grow, while we're not at the gym. And so I would say don't put too much added pressure on yourself. I am the worst at that. But when you take those off periods, your body is still working and your body is still recovering, and you'll be better for it, for sure. Just don't put too much pressure on yourself as you restart. I tend to start by listening to like a book, right? Or slow podcasts that aren't like that high intensity music where I feel like I have to be running at like a 6-minute pace, So yeah, I would just don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just go out there, enjoy it, be okay with where you're at, be present in it, and you'll get back there, no problem.
Hi.
Hi.
I used to be a velocist a few years ago, and I'm trying to start again. But I was wondering if you, in your community, you have another people that run not long distance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it could be better if you have more support from another woman.
Absolutely, 100%. So anytime I plan a run or we plan an event, I never, ever, for the most part, set a distance, right? Because I think that's a part of the problem is you look at these run clubs and they're like 5 miles, uphill, trail, terrain, Yeah, and you're like, well, I'm not going to that. So most of the time, it's just like Wednesday meetup, 6 a.m., and then the location, right? And we have women who run a mile and then walk, or we have women that run 3 miles and they walk. Everyone is out there at their own effort, at their own pace. I am never dictating your pace or your distance because I don't know you, right? I am not you, and I would never want you to go out there and struggle and not want to come back. My entire goal is making sure you want to return, right? And you want to continue to do this. And so we never have expectations of a distance you're supposed to run or a pace you're supposed to run. It is truly about, finding a crew to run with and just enjoying it and doing what you can that day. So there will never be like a dictated distance or pace that comes with any of our meetups. Absolutely.
And I think we have time for one more question.
How do we find out more information about your run club?
What a great question to finish with. So we are on Strava as Women Run Monterey. So that's typically where I post. All of the events are posted there, and the reason for that is because I can keep the location locked down, right? 'Cause part of my biggest thing is safety with women. Secondly, the Instagram. So I always follow up those events with posting it on Instagram. Always, the location is never displayed on there or anything, but it lets you know some of the other, of course we meet weekly, Wednesdays and Thursdays, but we also do runs with Lululemon, and we do fun events like this every day. So I'll also post them there. So I would say our Instagram and our Strava are two big spots.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. Thank you to Fleet Feet Monterey for being incredible partners for this stop. Thank you to the Megs for being incredible partners in absolutely everything we do. And thank you, Lindsey, for coming out here and talking to all of us about Women Run Monterey. What a treat for all of us this morning. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget, you do have coupons for ASICS shoes at Fleet Feet Monterey, so hopefully you're putting those to good use, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you.